If you're someone that just wants to have fun and wants to take the world by storm, and you enter into a town where all the parents care about is that you're not going to a safety school for college, you're gonna cause friction. Every year before the Dover-Sherburne versus Medfield football game, Thursday, Thanksgiving morning, there's an event called the Bonfire. This bonfire is a great metaphor for my guest today, because it's the friction of that wood bursting in the flames that my guest, Ashley Pennington, she is now the Phoenix. And originally, she was just Ashley Fulton, trying to have a great time at this school. Yes, she has transmuted herself into something else. And what led her there? The trials and tribulations of being an infamous, notorious character at a school that didn't quite know what to do with her, but still was drawn to her magnetism. That's an exploration we're going to get into. So, pull up a chair, stare at the bonfire, and grab that cup of apple cider that one of the parent volunteers, you know who they are, they poured one for you. And also, you snuck some vodka into the assembly, so pour a little of that in there too. Take a swig. Ashley Pennington joins me on an all-new Open Loops, Conversations That Bend. I consider it an affront to my family that you haven't heard about Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain, okay? Let me just lay this out for you. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And get this, okay? Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money, moolah, from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Craving some intellectual stimulation? Want to go on a head trip, but you lack a clear destination? What if there was a place you could always go? A theme park for intellectual escape. A place where you can expand your mind again and again and again. I know a spot. It's this podcast. It's called Open Loops, Conversations That Bend, with me, your host and chief looper, Greg Bornstein. That's right. I'm on a mission to expand my mind, as well as expand yours, with weird ideas and absurd beliefs and hypnosis, secrets, psychology, magic, celebrity culture, the taboo. Anything that's going to cause a shift in perspective that makes your brain start going, oh, loop. I have no idea. I didn't think like that. I've never thought like that before. You're walking, loop it, and bring it back. That's right. We're shamelessly fringe. We're shamelessly off topic. We're shamelessly tangential. We loop, we escape, we intellectualize, we escape again. We're here. Welcome to Open Loops. Today's episode, it's a little more on the straight and narrow in some ways. Well, in the sense that I don't have like a chakra cleansing crystal ball reader, even though, well, we do kind of reference those things in this episode. Yeah, come to think of it, this episode does get a little bit loopy. That's fine, because my guest went to high school with me. And I have to tell you, I mentioned this in the intro, this is really a tell-all episode that I was so excited to do. One of the reasons I created this podcast was so I could have in-depth conversations with people that fascinate me and get into their mind process. And, it's as good as ever an excuse to do it. And this guest I knew would be a good interview, because she was actually the first person I ever saw who had influencer status before there were influencers. Like, it took me years to realize, wow, people are following the trends of this girl. People know what this person's up to on the weekends. She's putting up pictures on MySpace. Things that people took for granted once Facebook and now Instagram, TikTok came in. Ashley Pennington was doing in 2005. And not only was she wasn't doing it like a inaccessible person, like she wasn't a quote unquote popular girl in the mean girl sense of it. She was a socialite. She was interacting with people of all different, I don't know if you were to call it classes of high school leagues. She just as much talked to me, the drama kid, as she would to a literary kid, as she would to a jock. Like, she did not stop herself from being an accessible human being that wanted to get to know people and was curious about others. And that was threatening to a lot of people. And hey, I know I had my share of judgments of her, of other people at the time. And you know what? I I apologize to her during the episode. I hope I've done my duty in I don't know, maybe it's redeeming myself. I don't want to like praise myself that much for this. I wanted to know the full person. And I hope I've given a little bit of that to all of you listening to this, as well as shed some honest reflections on what it was like growing up in a really well to do, privileged, but narrow minded town, in the sense that when you're living in a bubble and the goal is do well in school, make money, and maybe there's culture, hopefully, in a nice school you get into. Like, you're not going to actually have culture. Therefore, the culture is going to be one of rumors and judgments and stereotyping, and certainly not social exploration in the most free possible way, because things have to be done in a right way. There are standards. Ashley, the perceptions of her were tough, and I knew they were tough. And hey, I apologize to her for contributing to that in any way. You'll hear she doesn't think I'm like Satan or anything. Like, I don't think I caused the storm against Ashley Fulton at all. Now Ashley Pennington, but you know what? Look, we were all cruel back then, and in retrospect, like, I don't really think this girl deserved it. And in general, I think people that you might think are superficial actually know the machinations of what they're doing a lot more and are much smarter. See, how fitting that this person that was the first to bring use of Facebook and MySpace to her school ends up now working in Hollywood with people that are trying to become influencers and understands what they have to do to draw an audience to her, like all of us kids were drawn when she first came to her school. It's a fascinating tale. I'm excited to share this interview with you. If you enjoy Open Loops, please do subscribe to this podcast on Apple and rate and leave a review so we can keep getting out there and telling more stories like this. Without further ado, here she is, Ash Pennington. We got Ashley Pennington on Open Loops. I'm not even sure how this happened, but I love it.
So fun. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? You are someone I just man, if I were to go into a deep dive, which I love doing with every single person that like struck me as an interesting sort of I guess archetype of a person in Dover Sherburne High School where we were from, you were definitely a I feel like you were definitely like, you weren't just like a figure in terms of like, I mean, when I think of the Ashley you were, I'm like, okay, here's a girl that went to a lot of, she was a partier. She was like very prominent in the scene in terms of like, like you were living a cool high school life. There was a lot of like, in terms of my understanding of you, but also there was sort of like back then you kind of had like an influencer vibe, I felt.
Kind of.
Do you
Yeah.
do you feel that way at all? Do you feel like you were definitely like I felt like you led the pack of your friends at least in some level, but like
Well,
also
I don't
you were
know
kind
about
of you were a little atypical too for Dover Sherburne. Like reflecting back, let's start
I
here.
didn't really care about who my group of friends was, but that ended up kind of backfiring on me. I was friends with everybody.
Yeah, you were very approachable. I like that.
But I think that my mom is very fashionable and she was always taking me to cool stores and getting me cool clothes. And it's funny because I get DMs sometimes being like, oh my God, you always had the best clothes at DS. And like, I still love your style. Da, da, da. And I never knew, but my mom just kind of taught me how to put things together. And then I got into fashion and
Yeah, you're doing coaching now and all this stuff, which raises the question like, is enlightenment in Los Angeles like becoming a nutrition coach? Like,
you know, um, it's an interesting thing that's kind of happened in my life. Definitely by having children. I took
yes.
a nutrition course when I was pregnant. I did IIN and then I did yoga teacher training, which I definitely think is typical for LA, but it was kind of my own journey and just figuring out some food problems that I was having, like health
Right.
problems, and just exploring and getting spiritual. And
Yes,
was
yes.
raised, before I went to DS, I went to Ursuline Academy, very like Catholic, all girls school, mingled with Zavarian, all that crowd. So I kind of knew everybody. And then when I went to DS, people were like, who is this girl that just showed up here?
Yes, that is
And
true. Were you aware of that when you came in? Like, what was your
yeah, I
perception
mean,
of
I
how
was
people thought of
bullied
you?
the entire 4 years, and the administration did nothing about it, unfortunately,
Yeah.
to the point of even having the C word carved into my car.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
so there was definitely a lot of bullying, but if like, I'm so glad there wasn't Instagram. I think we had
Yes.
Facebook started, and then there was that photo sharing site that everybody got in trouble for.
Yes.
Um,
There was like Friendster stuff, and there was
yeah,
like,
there was like what, that Sherwood Mother's underground telephone or something.
yes. Wait, can you tell me right now? Here's my question. Did you ever figure out who that Tatiana person was? Do you remember that MySpace
Yeah,
incident?
they did like the whole narc thing, right? I don't know. I mean, I think it was one of the teachers.
Yes, there was like, for everybody listening, there was this was the beginning of MySpace in Dover Sherburne High School around 2004, 2005 ish,
Yeah.
a little maybe later. And all of a sudden, like, there was a MySpace profile of it was the original catfishing. It was like a girl who was like, super attractive, super just like crazy party girl. Like, she was sort of like, like what you would think like Ashley Pennington was when she first
Oh,
arrived in a way from another town. Um, but just like, but a little, even just a little more totally clueless. Like, you at least like kind of seemed like you would like, you went through
great.
the ringer
I mingled with
quick.
all the smart people. I did well.
Yeah.
I was, it was an interesting ride there. The classes were really small. I actually think that high school for me was harder than any class I took in college, and I went to some good schools.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what's so cool about it. And just to finish the story, basically that on MySpace, this girl was fake. Like nobody knew who she was. She claimed she was going to DS. Tatiana was the name, and everybody was trying to figure out if it was a
Who?
teacher, you
Yeah.
know. It was
It was kind of
crazy.
like Gossip Girl.
Yes. It was happening live and everybody was getting in trouble. But yeah, that is an interesting thing, Ash. Like, what was your impression? Let's talk about this because I'm very curious about, and this is my big thing with talking about the people that went to DS looking back. Like, do you think what did people get wrong about you when you first came in?
I don't know. I think a lot of people, rumors started and people talk and people make things up and people are misunderstood. And I mean, I lived in Sherburne. I came from Natick. We all knew mutual people. I don't know what it was or what it still could be as even an adult. I think people just have their own assumptions and draw their own conclusions before even, acting upon anything in life sometimes.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so it's just been an interesting journey. Like I was so bullied at DS, but I think it made me stronger. It made me who I am today, and it made me work my ass off. And I don't regret any of it. It was interesting. I was like I said, I was friends with everybody,
yeah.
so that kind of backfired on me too. But then I branched out to hanging out with friends from other towns, and because I went to private school, I knew other groups of friends. And by senior year, I was dating a guy from another town, so I wasn't really interested in DS anymore.
That I think is that's such a great way out. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's yeah. You see those. I remember those girls in our school that, they were kind of like they didn't fit in. There's one girl I'm thinking of in particular. She was like kind of more in the gothic frame of things, but like it seemed like she hated life until she got like a boyfriend from Framingham.
Yeah. It,
Like, you
I
know,
think there was just a dynamic in DS that was very catty and very bullied, and very like judge girls by their jean pockets, mean girls or Gina George style type
yes,
of thing. You have to like look the Abercrombie part in this waspy ass town. And I was
right.
just kind of focusing on horses and like hanging out with guys. And I was friends with guys. Like I was friends with guys that were kind of like edgy at DS that would like drive me home. And like then all of a sudden, apparently I was like, sleeping with them. And I'm like, no, we literally smoked weed on the way home. Like
See,
what?
now that's what's interesting to me. This is
Yeah,
like the misconception, right? So like we all were
100%.
like Ashley, we were all like, "Oh, she's the I mean, how do I put this? I mean, I think you probably got a lot of what people call slut shaming that was undeserved.
I did, and I wasn't a hoe. I was just friends with, like I told you, I was friends with everybody, and I had boyfriends all the way. Like if I go through like ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, not so much. I was dating a college boy, and then 12th grade, a guy from Wellesley. So, but it was always guys from DS, and it was long-term relationships, and I wasn't like hooking up or sleeping around at all. So it's really funny. People just create these misconceptions, and I think let them, because at the end of the day it doesn't affect me.
Yeah,
Like,
what was your did you have like a kind of like enlightenment moment where you realized, or just like a moment where it all kind of came crashing and you were like, whoa, a lot of people got stuff wrong about me for a long time and I really need to work through this pain.
yeah, I mean it still comes up. I still have nightmares about some of these girls,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
think at the end of the day you just grow from it. And some of the darkest moments bring the brightest light. And I think you have to bootstrap through a lot of it. I think a lot of the teachers were young and supportive. I went on some great trips with the administration and was kind of able to cultivate my own group of friends and see that like the clickiness, like the girls that like, judged or whatever, like that just wasn't my thing. I mean, by senior year, I think I had like a group of smaller friends, but friends in other towns and was branching out. And I think that when you do that, you can get judged for it too. And it's like, look, just let me live my life. And that's just the
Yeah,
way I continue to live my life.
right, right, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's so, I mean, look, it seems like if we were to go off of everyone's perceptions of who you were and sort of what I was getting fed and sort of, I mean, yeah, I'm guilty of things too. I'll admit it. Like we've all definitely gone to at DS, like to say a stereotype about someone else and to make a joke is fitting in. So it's like that lack of nuance of thinking back then is definitely like, and then I'm seeing being like, you got you very much got involved with, sort of like a higher end lifestyle, right? Like you work with celebrities, you've worked with, I know you were doing a period of time with like Playboy, you were doing like a lot of different kind of projects that were, at this sort of higher level fashion celebrity, sort of that kind of thing. And what was interesting is that from the side looking at this, I was like, oh, this makes sense because this girl was always acting at that level back then. But but it almost felt like you were I did also get the feeling that like there was a part of you doing it almost in spite of the limitations that small town gave you. Like, I think you would have anyways, but I was also like, I think this girl was like showing this town what she's made of. Is that true at all? I don't even know. I'm projecting it entirely. I know I am at some
Good
level.
question. That's funny. I mean, not really. I was just having fun. I mean, it's high school, right? Like we were able to live it up. I mean, the cops were awful. The parties were fun. The classes were hard. The sports were decent.
Yes.
I think that, like I said, lots of misconceptions, but the people that were like good and we had good times with, and the people that we've lost from the past few years, the past
Yeah.
12, 13 years since we've graduated, gosh.
Yeah.
So, we've lost a lot of amazing people too, and that's something that's crazy. I think there's a lot of pressure that comes from that school, not only from the class, but the parents and just the atmosphere. I mean, I can count at least 5 friends that have passed away.
Yeah.
So that's super heavy too. I think we were dealt a hand of suicide really early. A lot of people either idealizing it or actually going through with it. A very close friend did. So that, I think, has been very pivotal. I met people out here in LA that are like, oh my God, I haven't even had a friend that died. And I was like, oh, I've buried so many.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So
Wow.
that's a weird thing that Dover Sherburne has. It's a little dark there.
Yeah, yeah. I know you told me before we did this that you really haven't looked back in terms of like actually going back and sort of, really talking to a lot of people. I mean, first of all, will Ash Pennington show up at the 20th reunion?
I mean, I went to the 5.
Oh, there we go. Okay, okay. So you're not like 100% like screw this town and everything it did to
I
me.
love it. I think it's great. My brothers graduated from there. They went at the twins. They went to DS after I did. And it's a great town. I don't knock it for anything. I think I had a great education. I just think that certain things were misunderstood and miscalculated, but that didn't like affect my whole being.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blip on the radar. It was like, what, 3.5 years per se. That is not something that I look back on and it's like, oh my God, I'm like dying over what was done to me.
Right, right.
I think if anything, it made me stronger. It made me learn who I wanted to be, who I wanted to aspire to. And you know what? I had such phenomenal teachers that I'm still in touch with today, even on Facebook, Instagram, what have you. It's the funniest thing.
Wow.
So there's so many good takeaways. Being the football manager, Christina and I did it. She's still one of my close
Yes, yes.
I learned so much about like athleticism and the love of football, and I'm still close with all the coaches. And as my grandmother was dying, one's now a hospice nurse and was like giving me every bit of advice in January pre-COVID about my grandmother dying. So,
Wow,
there's
wow.
so many things that I take away from there that I'm like, who cares? Like, yeah, there's bullying that's really affected me. The C word being put in my car with the administration doing nothing. But, at the end of the day, it takes a coat of paint and like to
Is
let
that
it
the
go.
one you brought it up before? Is that the one that really gets at you that you didn't have
It
that
was a
support?
stinger only because the administration did nothing, but I think it's that small town, like really bad bullying. But
Do you know who did it? Do we ever find out who did it? You don't have to say their name, but do we
yeah,
know?
100%.
And do you know, was it as a result of like was it someone that you were
I
involved
think it
with,
was
or
because I didn't invite or like have them over to a party, but it was literally something where people just showed up and like ate some chicken wings and watched a football game. So it was kind of funny.
you know, one
I
of my most shameful
don't do
moments.
parties, um, but that wasn't one of them. So it was kind of stupid. I
I
don't know.
feel like these parties were a lot more open door than I thought back then, which kind of kills me that I was like, I had this perception. This is like a total misconception, Ashley. Back then, I was like, oh, you need to be invited to go to these open house parties, which is
No,
ridiculous.
you totally could have come.
That's the thing. Like, I kind of wanted to see just what was going. Like, I just have this curiosity to see what's going on, even if I'm like, like, yes, I was one of these people too that I didn't necessarily.
You're a little quiet, but we hung out around like the library and stuff. And like, I mean,
You think I was
DRs were like
quiet?
the biggest deal. I feel like, you know,
No,
DR was the thing. The library was the lounge.
yes, DR. Wait a minute. So your perception of me in high school was that I was quiet?
I wouldn't say quiet. I mean, you were like the actor. I mean, you still are. You were like the drama king.
Yes. Oh my gosh, my kingship is back. Finally. Somewhat. That's why I need to keep
So,
doing high
in the
school people.
yearbook, did you get any superlatives? Sorry, now I'm interviewing you. Did you get any superlatives?
I mean, I did get, oh gosh, it's embarrassing to say it right now to someone that actually is like kind of famous.
I got that one too. The most famous. I'm not even close to famous, but I work with a lot of famous people.
Okay, this is why this is our initial consultation. Yeah, look, this is the thing. I did get that back then. I also got the class clown one.
Oh,
Those were like the two.
yeah. I got the most likely to never return, so they were pretty spot on with that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, but I was always someone that, as a curious person, like, I'm like, I do remember I did like always talking to you and having conversations with you because you were just like a different perspective and you seemed open to it, which is like,
Yeah.
you have this lifestyle, like, or you enjoy like letting loose and having fun, but like some people were very clicky and I think still are clicky about having a lifestyle. And I think it's just,
A lot
I
of
think,
people have never left.
Yes,
It's interesting.
yes. It was,
But to
yeah.
each his own. I mean, who cares? If you want to stay in one place forever, that's fine. If you want to get out and explore, that's great. I don't know if I'll be in LA forever. I think post COVID, it's such a different landscape.
Yeah.
Who
Are
knows?
you when you're still lifestyle coaching, is that right?
Well, I do so many things.
I know, I was gonna say, I don't know where you've landed right now.
So I do celebrity wardrobe, but have completely pivoted because that doesn't really exist right now. We don't have any events to plan for or style for. So a lot of my
Right.
clients, I mean, the first few months we were sending athleisure to. Now that more stores are open, I can like go pull a bunch of stuff and kind of bring it to their house, make them feel a little bit more comfortable so they're not, out and about. But I am also launching an athleisure line and a podcast.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
So, yes. And I'm a mom, so that's a big job of two gorgeous babies.
I know these kids are adorable. You see them on your Instagram. We'll definitely link to your Instagram here. They are
Yeah,
so
they're
cute.
little stars. They're cute. So that's amazing. And yeah, I do the wellness coaching. When I was pregnant with Blakely, like I said, I did the IAN and yoga. But now, like I said, with the pivoting, it's all going to be online. So I'm bringing like a full meal plan and some stuff for postpartum and mamas, and kind of bringing it all together with what I would do regular coaching, but bringing it all into a membership subscription platform. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. Did you ever get life coached?
I have a big mentor and like 3 coaches. And then I
Yeah,
work with a
totally.
channel spirit guide, actually 2, and a couple of
Oh,
parent girls. I mean, I'm very esoteric and doing lots of healing and stuff right now. So I think it's important.
yeah. You know what? That is so under. I mean, I feel like in our hometown, it was like Christianity, and that was it.
Totally. Yeah.
Christianity, period. And then like, there's Greg. He's a Jewish kid. Like, okay,
There was
great.
a few Jewish kids. I mean,
Yeah, no, there was, but I mean, in terms of the actual commitment to like exploring, like you would not, there
totally.
were not kids talking about tarot cards. Like you couldn't bring a tarot deck to Dover Sherburne.
No. No, I mean, absolutely not. Even girls that wore like black nail polish. I think I wore a pair of pants that said juicy and was asked to change to my gym.
Well, I
Like it's
mean,
Lonergan. And I'm like, it's Juicy Couture. What are you talking about?
oh my gosh. Well, there was the whole thing with, my mom was involved with FOPA, which is the Friends of the Performing Arts, and Miss Lonergan wanted to change it because it was, what was it? Is it, oh gosh, FOBA? Fat up, it was an inappropriate.
Fupa.
FUPA, yes, over, yes. Um, I was like, how is this a controversy?
I mean, that administration kind of wanted to make it controversy out of anything, I feel like.
Yes,
Totally changed
yes.
my brothers were there. It was a completely different dynamic.
I totally agree. Stuff that like it was controversial to be gay still when we were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
I
there were
can't imagine.
people, yeah, 100%. And so many little things. I think even down to racism and
Right.
so many, like now, I just received an email about facing history being a mandatory class, and I think that's one of the best things that the school could do.
Did you took that guy? Who was that? Like Miss Kara or
Miss Kara, yeah, she's one
yeah,
of my favorites. I
she
think she
was
has a different
awesome.
last name now, but she's the best. I traveled to a few countries with her too. She's fun.
Wait a minute, you travel to countries with our teachers?
I
Have you?
went, let's see, my sophomore year, I went to Berlin, Munich, Prague, and Vienna, and that was insane. It was Mr. Hickey's trip with like Miss Von Yu, who's Miss
Yes.
Andrews, no, and let's see who else, Kara, a few other teachers.
Who's wait, okay. I am not gonna we are not gonna say anything more about this
Nope.
because I do not want anybody getting in trouble.
No.
I might even have to edit that.
Anyway, sorry.
Wow. No, that's totally fine. That is, first
But
of
it was
all,
post graduation and it wasn't me.
post graduation. Oh my God, was he not
So
married?
it wasn't anyone underage. So let's put it that way.
Okay.
It wasn't
Oh,
anything bad.
yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Well, for those of you still listening to this conversation, we may have had to edit the previous moment. But you know what? I'm fine with it
Yeah.
because I got some good secrets here. Wait, what other secrets do you don't even tell me like what the secrets are, but like how many secrets do you have from our school?
I'm a good secret keeper. I wouldn't say maybe there's some.
Oh my gosh.
I
Are there
think we got away with some stuff that was like funny, like just some pranky stuff, you know?
is there something right now you are allowed to reveal that was kind of a secret that no one would have any idea happened that was a prank that just like makes you chuckle when you think back on it?
I wouldn't say a prank, but we always used to get to leave a certain class to go get Isabella's sandwiches.
Yes. You know what? Mr. Chickless, do you ever have him?
Yes, he would leave to go smoke like a pack a day.
Yes. And he
He was
also let,
walking.
yes. He would, if you put on Seinfeld in his class, he would not stop it. It was the best.
And there were some great people in the science department. I loved our science.
I have to say, I think the school like had such a great, slew of teachers. I think
It
you are
was,
absolutely right.
there was one math teacher that made my life a living hell, but other than that, there's no one I can look up. A Spanish teacher that I had freshman year, she was terrible. Senior year had her, she was the best. So I think maybe hindsight's 2020.
Are we talking about
And
Miss
they were all
Eftham?
just doing the best they could.
Miss Eftham was tough on you, wasn't she? I used to hear
He
stories.
was. You remember that?
I used to hear stories. I used to hear real
Mhm.
what did she say to Ashley today kind of stories from
It
people.
was so mean. And she would be like, Fulton, sit down. It was like Ferris Bueller. But by
Yes.
senior year, I had her for Spanish 5 AP or something. And she was unreal.
Wow. I mean, I think she was one of the funniest people in that entire.
Hysterical.
Yeah. Didn't she call you the captain of La Basura? Did she call you the trash captain at any point?
I don't think so.
I think she used to just call that to people that she hated, like, or just like she'd be like, Capitan de la Basura. Like, you are the trash captain.
Oh my God, that would be awful. I think that would have really triggered me, or maybe I missed it or blocked.
I hope she didn't say it to you. I hope she didn't. Um,
I know she's still. I recently looked her up because I was wondering what she was doing, and I saw that she like started a knitting club and like I don't
oh
know.
my gosh, that's
I mean,
amazing.
hopefully she's doing well through all of this.
Yes,
But
yes.
I really, really, really loved her towards the end of school. And that's what I think that's part of growing up. You learn to love people in different ways, and maybe you change perspectives by getting to know them. Again, people can be really misunderstood, and we're all just doing the best we can.
Yeah, yeah. Here's my question for you. Like, imagine you were in a situation where you had to prepare one of your children to go through Dover Sherburne High School. What would you want them, like, what sort of mental habits and like things would you want them to take in, like, so they could go through that environment? And I know it's different now than you, but like imagine it was back then and they were going and you know what you went through. How would you prepare them?
Well, I think an interesting thing that they put me through a beta tester program was mindfulness. And that's what made me
Mm,
get into yoga. So I think that by having the tools that I'm already setting them up for,
yeah.
with like for success, like having in their toolbox to like take deep breaths and calm yourself and let it go and not sweat the small little things or the notes being passed. And I'm
Yes.
sure obviously it's a hell of a lot different in the space that the kids are growing up now in. But even without technology or certain parts of technology, we were able to get around it. I think we were still able to figure out how to get on Facebook in the library. So
Yes, that was the best. The constantly finding the new like
the code.
firewall link. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
used to love that. Oh my gosh, you had to be so discreet with Mr. Butterworth because he would get it so quickly. And also, I love that guy.
He's the best. I used to visit him a lot. I went back, even though I say I don't go back, I do go back at least. I mean, I've already been back twice this year. My grandmother did pass
I'm sorry to
earlier,
hear that.
and was able to get back before. But long story short, I visited all the time, and my brothers were in high school there. I'd pick them up or bring them a sub or something like that, and it was really great to see all the old teachers that we had had.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of new people, but like
Yeah,
there's still
it
some
takes a
people
lot.
there's still some great people. And the thing I loved about Butterworth, I don't know if you ever encountered this. I feel like this was kind of what was happening with all the other teachers too, the cool ones, is
Mhm.
that they understood that kids were going to be kids and they
Yeah.
kind of like they let you get away with a lot, but also they had the follow protocol, but they also like Butterworth always knew we were not doing work in the library, but he had to tell you to.
Oh, yeah. But he handled it with grace. And I think, again, that's a really good lesson to go back to is just handling things with grace and good energy. He was always so positive. I don't think I ever
Yes.
saw that man, even if he was scolding us, he was like Ashley, I really think you should be XYZ, or like maybe
Yes,
this
he
book.
had tact. He had
He did,
tact.
and
You're
he
right.
kind of redirect
Yes.
because he kind of became a glorified babysitter to all of us that didn't want to sit in our DR classes, which DS didn't really do anything with. They probably had enough
Yes.
dollars to give us more programs, but we were all just like sitting there.
It's
And then
so true.
they wouldn't let us free. We couldn't drive. We couldn't go do stuff unless we were seniors. I mean, what, second semester? It was the silliest thing. But
Yes. Yes.
there was definitely room for improvement there. I hope they've done a little bit, but he was the best. I think one of my
Yeah.
favorite people at Don't Worship Room, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, look, you know what? I want to make a jump. Let's go into like more of your present lifestyle because you are, like you are talking to people that are in the industries that like I guess you could call it like the face industries, like where they're getting a lot of face, whether that's being a recording artist on TV, Instagram influencers, whatever that is. What is like, do you think what is the influencer life? Like, what is it like to wake up every day? How conscious are you of your image? Does that concern you? Because what I'm worried about, the idea with it, as like I'm putting out, I'm not saying I'm anywhere sort of near the people that you work with and even that, you've gone, but the idea of constantly monitoring your content, there's a difference between putting something out into the world because you want to versus because that's what a good influencer does. How do you monitor that?
Well, I think obviously everybody has a platform, and
Mm-hmm.
there's
Mm-hmm.
some people that, quite frankly, have no filter and don't really give a damn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Joe Rogan or something, something like that. That's just like putting content out, and just like, or like, maybe a more positive guy like Gary V in business,
Yes.
very like, cutthroat and like, yeah, guys, and like, I love him. Uh,
Yes.
and then there's, in Los Angeles, there's everybody's trying to make it. It's a total facade. I have girls that I've worked with, um, millions of followers, so
Yes.
unhappy. So I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the followers you have. I think it's the content you're putting out, the energy you're spewing, the frequency that you're trying to level up to is the most important.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, the numbers don't matter. If you're trying to make a buck off of, a 30% off code, so be it. I have
Right.
like 6,000 followers, but they're all real. They're all people I know. So if I get
Mm-hmm.
1,000 people buying XYZ, it's still monetizing something for me.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't care anymore. I'm private. I have kids. I'm like doing my own thing. I have a lot of projects going on. So I think a lot of those girls are definitely using a platform that's going to have a dead end and an expiration date. So if they don't find something that, hopefully, I see a lot of them making money and transitioning to YouTube, which is great. But I hope they're saving that money and not just buying like the designer items, and
Yeah.
actually doing something that's going to create good in their lives, and they're going to be able to fall back on, because Instagram is not going to be forever. Look at Snapchat. I mean, I know the younger generation's using it, and TikTok and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
but it's going to be different. The landscape is changing.
Yeah, I'm very curious, like what changes you think are, do you like have a sense of what the direction is, or do you just see other things ending? Like, what is the future looking like?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a magic ball in front of me, but I
I know
do.
you channel stuff, so maybe you have some insight from the guides. I don't know.
I work with girls that are way better at it than I am, but I think that by having your platform out there and getting the word out there, I think podcasts are obviously
They're
monetized.
really taking off right now.
Yeah. And a lot of people are at home and people are able to talk, and it's really exciting to connect with people. I think that small brands are really doing well because they're not doing huge volume. They're staying in the United States. A lot of people like that right now. It's keeping it in like a smaller batch, more curated type of thing, more local. A
Yeah.
lot of people are really going more organic, more grassroots, which again, I think is really great. So the landscape, like, it is changing. It's not going to be these huge brands, these huge brick and mortars, which I think is a little sad because I do love to go into stores and feel the fabric
Yeah.
and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But it's just not as practical anymore, and it costs a lot of money.
Yes. First of all, did you go to Fire Festival?
No, I would.
I just want to know, like, who you.
I've gone to Coachella uh, more than a handful of times and done it all, but I would never have gone to Fire Festival. I
I'm
did get approached and stuff about it, but I would have never.
well, how were you able to suss it out versus like other people that, are at this? Like they showed all the like influencers blogging. Like, why did you know it was not going to be something great?
Because it just didn't feel right. It just didn't sit with me, and you could just tell the girls were doing it to do it. I just
Right.
think a lot of that stuff, unless it's executed really well, they needed like 10 years to do that and a lot more money. I think that they really made some grave errors and screwed so many people over and
Totally.
deserve hell. Watching those documentaries was embarrassing.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
think, there's so many good festivals that do happen. And I think, for example, something like Electric Daisy Carnival or something really meaningful like Burning Man that people have real experiences at, those things are a little bit more important on the scale of festivals and music and community. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that, I think in general, like popularity, like sort of you were pointing to this, which is that like it's not about likes, it's about like coming from a place of integrity and like really being grounded. And sometimes I wonder, even with Burning Man, like when I started hearing like my distant second cousins were going to Burning Man and like it became corporatized and stuff like that, I started going, oh great, another thing that was organic has just become popular. Like,
I agree. I do think that it's definitely gotten a little bit more commercialized per se, but so many of my friends that have gone, I was gonna go this year, I'm not gonna lie. I
no, it's
thought
fine. I
that
want to go
was
still, believe
a
me.
really cool, number, and 22 is my thing and whatever. I thought that it was going to be a really cool experience. One of my really close friends from growing up, his dad was one of the main guys in monster.com and is really close with, creating Burning Man and just kind of, show me the ropes a little bit and tell me the right
Yeah.
things to do. And I think it's, as long as you know what you're getting into and you have the right equipment and you're doing it the right way, it can be really fun. So,
So it's still worth going if you do it correctly. With all these things, I mean, do you think it's just as simple as feeling like really trusting when something's commercial versus like, because I think people get thrown away actually. Like I think people are going to come out to LA and sometimes they don't know the difference between like a life coach
yeah.
that's going to rob them blind and someone that actually has something to say, you
That's
know.
very true. I think it can be anywhere. I mean, it's kind of like picking out avocados at the store.
Right,
You're going
right.
to find one that works for you, or, find your right therapist, whatever analogy you want. I think that what it comes down to, I saw a really funny meme today and it had like all the tiers of Burning Man and the
Right.
types of people. And obviously it was a bit degrading, but I think that
Totally.
if you're prepared, that it's going to be dusty, you're dressed accordingly, you have what suits you as a person. I have listened to a few of your podcasts now, and I love how you said, I think it was actually your first one when you were talking about Teslas, and you talked about how you're kind of signing up for that lifestyle. If you're committing
Yes.
to going to something like that, or you're committing to buying a Chanel bag, or you're committing to driving a Range Rover, you're committing to join a club. There's certain things that elevate you and
Yeah.
make people want that too, right? And that's why things become successful, and that's how businesses become successful. So I think at the end of the day that you can just keep investing in yourself, in wellness, and whatever you decide to do with your money to elevate your life is your own choice.
Right, right. I'm now that I'm like talking to you, I'm like, wait a minute, she had secrets about teachers. What secrets does she have about everyone? Like, what do you know about Bill Gates? Have you hung out with Jeff Bezos? Tell me what Barack Obama does on the weekends, like
Oh
Ash
my gosh, I
Pennington.
wish I know about all of those guys. I have gone to a few fun parties rather. I've had to sign a lot of non-disclosure agreements. That's kind
Because of
of,
parties? Is that what the life is? Do you even have to sign disclosure agreements after going to parties?
there's a lot of them to go to like after hours and stuff where they'll take your phone. I
Oh my
used to have to like
gosh.
Drake's house and Justin Bieber's house, Chris Brown's house. I don't like to name
Wow.
drop though. I mean, I've worked with so many celebrities, but it's not to me when I see them out and about, it's not like, oh my gosh, I want your autograph. It's like, hey, what's up? If I know them, or I wouldn't say a word, they're just regular people,
Yeah.
or they want to be regular people. They might not be in the public eye, regular people, but they want to be. So many of them can't even go to Starbucks, for example, and grab a coffee. Like, imagine how much that would be like terrible.
Yeah. No, I definitely imagine. I mean, do you who is like the how do I ask this without you naming a name? Do you think there's somebody that is like who is the most misunderstood person in Hollywood? And maybe you don't even know them directly. Maybe you've heard about them, but who do you think like
Misunderstood.
yeah,
I would
who
say
do people have wrong?
I would say Paris Hilton.
Wow. Now that's interesting because yeah, okay. Okay. I always thought it was weird that like Ashley Fulton and Paris Hilton sounded so similar.
Ooh, interesting. Yes. So that's my stepdad's name. And he's so it's Ashley Pennington Pierce Fulton is the whole thing, but it's super, super long. And
Yeah.
Pierce is my real father's name. So it's just Ashley Pennington professionally just was great. Had a ring to it.
Yeah.
And I think that she is a brilliant businesswoman. She has like 30 fragrances or something insane. She has so many brands. I
Yeah.
believe she has a movie or documentary coming out about her, and I'm super interested in seeing that. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I watched that Netflix thing about like influencers and talking
Yeah,
about how Kim Kardashian was like, so inspired by Paris Hilton. I thought it was
he was
great.
her assistant.
Right, right. And she
Yeah.
was like watching everything she was doing and just
Well,
like,
Kim's brilliant too. I worked for one of their main makeup artists for a couple of years, and she was the one that got me started in the industry, Joyce Spinelli.
oh,
And working with them was unbelievable. It was really cool.
do you think I'm just imagining at a certain level, like some people just act entitled, but are celebrities like, are Instagram, okay, let me ask you this. What percentage of people that are quote unquote Instagram famous
Yeah.
are like genuinely like nice people?
Okay, I think there's a big difference here. Don't hate
Please
me
tell
for
me.
it. There's a big difference between influencer and celebrity.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
There's
break that
infamous
down.
as well.
Infamous.
You can be infamous, or I wouldn't say that like a Jake or a Logan Paul is a celebrity because I think they're pretty garbage. Like I think
Right.
that they aren't doing good things with their money. I think that being categorized with an esteemed Oscar-winning actress
Right.
versus
Right.
being an Instagram model, it's fake. It's all a facade. All these girls, edit and filter and Facetune and
Yeah.
whatever have you till, you know, a million times. They have assistants that do it. I'm not going to give away everyone's secrets, but it's just not real. Nothing out here is
So you know
real.
these girls. You hang out with these people that are just dreaming of being Instagram famous. Like, are they? You know,
I don't
my
hang out with them.
okay. Well, you've seen them. You've been in spaces with them. Maybe even
I'm
worked for them.
acquaintances with many.
Your
Yes.
acquaintances. Okay. So do you like? Why do they just seem interchangeable?
You
Right?
know, they all go to the same plastic surgeons.
Oh, that's why they actually just
I
are
mean,
the same.
interchangeable. They
Maybe
all
they are
look
the
the
same
same,
person.
right? Like the same face, literally the same lips, the same cheeks, the same whatever threading. Um, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the LA look. It's an interesting vibe out here to keep up with. I've had kids for the past 4 years, so I haven't been able to keep up. But uh,
I don't think we
it,
ever saw anybody too highly plastic surgeoned that at least I know of. I'm sure you do know someone in
no,
at Dover Sherburne. I never
no.
saw that.
No, I didn't. I didn't either. It's just a completely different vibe out here. California could be its own state. I mean, it's a shit show.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, why did the lip thing happen? I started noticing a couple years ago, like a lot of Instagram influencers and like I'll just in general, I started seeing like girls in their late teens to like 30s puffing their getting the lip injections. And I'm just wondering, who finds that attractive besides Jeffrey Epstein's? Like what is going on there?
You know, I've done it a couple times. I haven't since I've had my kids, but I think
I don't
that
think it looks too weird on you though.
I
Like you're not having like the
did
fish
like a
lips.
little bee sting. That's what I told the surgeon. But I think that I don't know. Every girl just is trying to look like another dime a dozen. You know, these influencers or whatever. They think that that's the look and that's what needs to be beauty. But if you look over time, I think in terms of history, there's definitely parts that repeat itself, and there's campaigns that are made that like make you beautiful.
Right.
Or diamonds are forever with Marilyn Monroe. You know, diamonds were nothing before Hellsberg, I believe, made that campaign. So
Yes,
there's so
yes.
many correlations over the years. Then Halston did like his, you know, his suede and his ultra suede stuff, and there's so many things that were so pivotal that women followed. So I think
Yeah.
it's another trend. And maybe it'll be over, but it'll be interesting to see these girls that get super filled because, like, it's gonna sag, isn't it? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I imagine it will, and it definitely doesn't look good on like Real Housewives, like what happens.
I don't know. A lot of them have gotten entire new faces, but that's a story for another day.
Oh my gosh. Now wait a minute, Ashley. Tell me right now, who is harder on you? The girls or the boys at Dover Sherburne High School?
The girls. I was friends with all the boys.
You think overall, like even though it was a dude that thought he couldn't come to your party, that decided to call you that word, like overall the girls were tough. I think in general, like girls can be really tough on girls.
Yeah, they're just super judgmental and they hold grudges. For example, I think guys, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, are able to work things out a little bit easier. Like, all right, bro, like I got it. Yeah, like you
Right,
know,
right, right.
like hetero, like let's like like punch it out and whatever have you. But girls hold grudges and they get mean and they backstab and they are two faced and they're your friend one day and not the next, or even from like period to period, like or something's happened
Yes.
in between. There was one day that someone put salsa in my gym bag, like stupid shit like that. Like
Why?
why did you do that to me? Like that, like just so stupid, but such an inconvenience.
Do you
So
think do you what did you represent to these people back then?
I have no idea, but if someone can let me know, please do write me,
Go
send
to
some
ashleypennington.com slash
Ashley at
contact.
ashleypennington.com. Yeah, whatever you want to do, DM me. Uh, whatever I did to you, I'm so sorry. I don't know. It's been a lot of bullshit, to be honest.
Well,
Some have come
yeah.
around and been like, I'm sorry, and this and that. But
Oh, that's nice that people have done that. Yeah, do you think there is like can you look at anything that you did back then
mhm.
and be like, yeah, you know what? I actually did do something to hurt someone and I shouldn't have. Like, was there any time you really felt that you kind of like either were a mean girl or anything like that?
Yeah, we all have our faults. I definitely think that I was not perfect, and I'm definitely not perfect today. But I think, again, very misconstrued with the group that I was hanging out with. And
Mm,
like I told you earlier, got bullied just because I was friends with everybody. And I think that if there's one thing that I could have changed, it maybe would have just been to not have been friends with certain people and just kind of done my own thing, not followed the crowd so much. I think there was a lot of hive mind mentality there.
yeah, yeah.
Do you
What
agree?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it definitely. Well, here's my question. I mean, like, what is it? Friends with everybody. When I think of a girl that is like gonna be friends with all the guys, my immediately thought is what I said earlier too. Like, they all think you're sleeping with them. They think you've
Yeah.
slept with every single guy there.
I feel like I kind of friend zoned everybody. I mean,
And I'm sure there are a lot of guys that probably did want to sleep with you, as they did with like every girl that because men are horny and they're when they're 14. Like,
14 to 18. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple boys like my freshman year, they were seniors that like made up rumors and got
yeah,
like stupid, but at the end of the day, I know the truth and I know what happened. So, you
I
know,
know. I feel bad
people
for like
talk,
what was communicated to me about you, and not even specific stories. Just like, oh, that's that girl. She's like a Paris Hilton type. Like, and I'm like, what is that? Well, first of all, like, yeah, good that you respect her now, but also like,
wait, what?
why?
So, what's a Paris Hilton type? A girl that's blonde, has money, and rides horses? Like,
Well, I
anything
guess she
getting
had the tape. I
yeah.
guess that's kind of the thing. Like, oh, she had a tape, therefore she's
Oh
a
my God, no, I never had a sex tape. Definitely not.
yeah, I don't even think like I just think you liked living and living it up, and I have many regrets about the way I played high school, and I think I would have been much more openly like maybe hedonistic and just like wanting to party openly rather than being like, no, you have to be this type of person to go drink a beer at this person's house. Like, I don't even know where that came from. But I look
Like,
back now and I'm like, who cares? We just need to
right?
live, like,
We all could have
collaboration.
partied and hung out and had a beer. Yeah. I don't know. I think that there was definitely pods and groups of people, and it was very, to me, coming in at ninth grade, it was already kind of predetermined. So I wasn't even really
Right.
able to make a selection. It was like I got there the first day and a couple girls were like, come be friends with us. Like, we're going to show you the ropes.
Oh my gosh. How close are you to Lindsay Lohan and Mean Girls?
Uh, it was kind of the same thing.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like you I mean, in a way maybe, but you know what? I almost feel like you did have more, at least you were more outgoing initially than like her
Yeah.
character was.
I was more outgoing. I wasn't shy. I was smart. Not to toot my own horn, but I did well in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, yeah, I think that there were so many girls that just had like, I don't know, a vendetta against me.
They
And
immediately saw you. You were
I was
scary to
a threat.
them.
I was a
Yes.
threat. But a lot of alpha women are and continue to be. And I've always kind of been threatening to certain women, but I think that's a character flaw of their own and doesn't reflect on me. I think that that's something for them to work on.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm just doing me. And if they have a problem with it, like they can see the door.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you have so many interests, and like I mean, being a mother, I'm sure like inspires you in different ways too than like maybe even that. I mean, did you think you'd be a mother at this age?
I always did. I always wanted children quite young. My mom and I are 25 years apart, and I love having a young, fun mom. That was probably also
Yes.
why I had like the cool house and whatever have you.
Yeah.
So I think that being a young mom is really exciting and fun. And then once they're grown up, I'll still have another good part of life to live. Obviously, they'll always be my babies, but they'll be at college or, moved out of the house.
Right, right. I
It's
think it's
taught
yeah,
me
that's
so
kind of revolutionary, Ashley. Like that you decided to become a mother, and also you're able to pursue work and life that you love, and you're not working like a typical corporate job. Like, oh wait, you can do both. Like it seems that people think you can't.
I think that's always been a stigma. And my biggest goal right now, especially with working with women and new mothers, is breaking down stigmas and barriers. There's no
Yeah.
reason why you can't work, especially right now. A lot of us have learned you don't need to be in an office 9 to 5
Yes,
to be
right.
successful. We can all remotely work on our laptops and be able to communicate in so many different ways and fashions. I use Slack and all different apps to communicate all the
Totally.
time, all day. So I think that in essence, it's just this whole new world that's kind of opening up for us.
Oh, you're breaking out the crystal ball now. This is good. Keep going.
It's just motherhood has really opened doors for me, and it's really taught me a whole nother language. It's like having your PhD or something. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I always wanted to be. Organic chemistry was really mean. Not going to go there,
Oh no.
but
Okay.
it happened. So, long and short of it, motherhood has been such an awakening. And actually, that's what my son Bodhi's name means. And if you remember, we had to
Yes.
read Siddhartha.
I
That
one of my favorite books. It's still listed. Favorite books.
still is mine. And it was funny. So I apparently took one home from Dover Sherburne and never gave it back. The
Wow.
other day I opened
Yes.
it and a slip from Mrs. Elmendorf, who I'm still friends with on Facebook and Instagram,
Wow.
fell out of the thing that wrote me out of a detention for too many tardies. So you
Wait,
remember
have
they
you
did that?
wait, sorry, what?
They used to give us tardy or detentions if we had tardies. I was like, what the heck? Like that's
Yeah. Wait a minute. Have you fixed that part of your life? Do you show up on time now?
I do. Being early is being on time. That's how I look at it.
Yes.
But you know
Yes.
what? In my defense, I was not driving. My neighbor picked me up because
Fair.
we used to take the bus, and he was a smidgen of a stoner and
Yeah.
wasn't always on time. So, it happens.
That's fair. That's fair. What is your podcast about? What's it going to be? What are you going to be covering on that?
So I kind of want to uncover, obviously, breaking down stigmas and breaking through barriers. But my stepdad always used to ask me, how was your day? What did you learn? And I always had this joke with him. I'd be like, nothing. And he was like,
Right.
wait for you to be you, kiddo. And so, like, my whole passion right now is learning how you are you. It's interesting to me. Every single person on this planet has their own story. And someone said to me the other day, it was like very Tim Ferriss of me, but I just want to uncover everybody's story and everybody's mission and, talk to people and really just have enticing conversations.
Yeah, yeah. I know that was sort of like, again, back to high school. It was kind of like that was sort of my mission too, with people that I thought definitely had stigmas against them. I was always interested in like kind of going a level deeper to see what was actually going on there.
Yeah. And I think there's so many things to be learned about people. I really was misunderstood back then. And I would love for people to know that I wasn't trying to be any certain way. It was a really small school. There was what, 500 of us,
Yeah.
and it was an interesting time. I'm still super close with many women and men that we went to school with. I just
What about Alex from Germany?
Alex from Germany. Oh,
Remember
he was
that kid?
cool. Yeah, he was
You like
super.
that kid. I remember you guys used to like, or he was, yeah, you guys used to hang out, I feel like, when he first like came in.
We never hooked up. He was just a buddy. He was a friend. He
I
was
love
there.
that guy.
Yeah, there was a lot of really nice guys. Like there was some really cool exchange students. Uh,
Yes.
and and then I told you I went on one trip, and then I went to Greece and Italy. That was a really fun time too. Hickey had fun on that cruise. We got to drink with them, and we had a blast.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I'll never forget it. He was such a cool teacher. Did you have Mr. Hickey?
I never actually had him. I
Ah,
never actually had him, but he was someone that I would have been intrigued to have just to like kind of get into his head a little bit.
he was like honors history or something. He was so good. He was. I loved him, but uh,
Yeah.
so fun. Or APUS or I don't know
Kaplan.
something.
I had Kaplan. Did you
Oh,
ever have
yeah,
Keith
Kaplan was
Kaplan?
cool. He was cool. I only had him for DRs, but a lot of my friends had him and absolutely loved him.
Yeah, no, he was definitely something that school needed. Like he was shaking things up. Some
Yeah,
teachers would just come in and look at the town and be like, I need to change things here, like influence the mindset. And I love that. I think Joshua Bridger did that to a certain
he
extent
did.
too.
Mr. Coors did as well. Did you have Mr. Coors?
I don't yeah, yes. Well, I don't know if I actually had him as a teacher.
Okay. He was cool.
He was a
He
poli sci guy, right?
poli sci, and he
Yes.
taught me so many things. He would always give us the sheet. It was very reminiscent of college. It was almost like, every day, like a little itinerary for the day of like a little breakdown. And he always had so many great quotes, and he
Yes.
kind of looked at the news from so many different aspects. And I now don't go to one resource. I think you have to look at so many different, websites and pages and profiles and Twitters and different people's views to see what's really going on.
Yes.
Because you'll
Yes.
read one headline that maybe the Washington Post or the New York Times or the Boston Globes will put out, but then the whole message is misconstrued in the headline to the body of, the whole article. So I learned a lot from Mr. Kors about that, and just so many cool little things like the hand of he always taught us about like the hand of gratitude, how when you're driving, someone will give like a little wave.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just little life lessons like that. But I always think about these teachers that probably have no idea who I am now, but the hand of gratitude, that's such a like universal thing when you're driving, that you give that little hand.
Yes. Totally. Totally.
But that taught me about gratitude. I remember looking up gratitude. I'm like, oh wow, like that's a cool thing that he just taught me.
Oh yeah, no, these guys were top class. I mean,
They were all Ivy League. They were
yeah.
I mean, like, did you have Miss Prizer?
I not as a teacher, but I definitely like because she used to produce a lot of the arts events and the poetry stuff. So I was
Yeah.
close with her.
So I was like one of her star poets.
That's right. You did. You know what? I always thought kids that were misunderstood. Comiskey is my favorite example of this. Danny Comiskey.
Oh
Like this
yeah,
is a quiet kid, never
yeah.
talked, but he like released poetry and it was like the most beautiful. I think that happened with you too. Like people were like all of a sudden
I
these
made
kids that
people
were
cry.
yes, kids that were misunderstood in our school were amazing poets, which was fascinating.
I love it. We all got our emotions out. Yeah. I loved her. She was phenomenal. There were just so many good people there. But not to rant about all these teachers, but they
Now we
were.
love them. I'm glad that you have as much appreciation for I think that's like a common theme. Like I don't think anybody that leaves DS thinks badly on the teachers because they
Yeah,
did a great job manning whatever that situation was.
they did. And Mr. Buck, Darren Buck, I'm still
Ah,
in touch
love
with
him
him.
too. Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, no, these are fantastic people. Ashley, I mean, look, I'm very interested. Look, right now for the audience, what's the big secret of Dover Sherburne High School? What is The inside scoop that is going to blow people's minds. If someone from the classes of 2008 are going to listen to this and you're going to tell them one mind-blowing fact that is going to change their brains about everything they thought they understood, what is it?
Oh my God. Tough one. Hmm. Well, huh. I think that in essence, if everybody had gotten along a little bit better, we all would have had a lot more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think collaboration, if you can like knock get click like thinking
Get the
out of
drama
it.
out, right?
Yes, I think everybody, and you know what? There were my class in particular. While we did have cliques, I appreciated that I felt like my grade, class of 2011 or class of 2007, rather, love them. There was a respect that I
You had a great
felt.
grade.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, I think they were very respectful of each other. Even like when you got like kids that are like the geography B kid, kind of like a strange character, but we all love him. Like kids like me, drama
Totally.
kid. Like there was different. Everybody had their different sectors, but like respect was there.
You had
Um,
your Liz Toner. I spoke to
yes.
her the other day. She was
Uh,
the hottie of your grade, one of the hotties.
look, I make no comments on my attraction to anybody at my school at this time.
No, but you know what I mean. She's just a doll.
Yeah,
Like
she
just
was a hot commodity at the like she was definitely a she was an I guess if you're looking at like the
she was an
influencers of your
influencer.
grade.
Yeah.
Yes, there was definitely that kind of thing. Are influencers just the popular girls just like on a mass scale, or are they something?
Maybe it's like this alter ego that comes out of, I don't know. Now it's TikTok with these young girls, that are all coming out of this TikTok factory.
Would you prevent your kids from getting into this, or would you have them do it just like in a more mindful way? Like are you banning Instagram when your daughter turns 14? Like what is your thought on that?
No, she can do what she wants as long as, she's not hurting anybody and she's not getting hurt herself. I think that we all did it and we all learned our lessons. There's many lessons to be learned in life, and I will let her learn hers as long as it's monitored and
Right.
safe. And I want to be a fierce protector of my children always, but I'm not going to limit their experiences if they want to have them. Uh, I don't think that that's the right thing to do. As a
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I definitely think people do the like the Sherburne, the underground Sherburne mothers thing of like it's
yeah,
banned.
like
Um,
shelter your child, and but a lot of those kids go to college and end up, getting sick in toilets and not knowing how to
yes,
handle themselves and
yes,
failing, just not to put a stereotype on anybody, but I think that in essence, if you're able to get through a small community with a lot of freaking money, we went to a lot of, nice
yes.
houses
It's a
growing up.
very nice community. Yes.
Very nice community with a lot of white privilege and a lot of, direction on athletics and academia.
Yeah.
And we were definitely afforded so many incredible things that even I know people out here that went to somewhat of a comparable school would never even know how to do. And I really think that the takeaway is that even though there was a lot of hardships, looking back, we were really prepared for life. We
Yes.
had really cool, kind of groundbreaking, esoteric, astrology classes and mindfulness classes and different electives that really were thought provoking that a lot of schools didn't have. So looking back on the whole experience, I'm so grateful for everything that happened.
That's amazing. Well, look, if there's one final thing, because I want it, I want the sound bite, I want the truth right now. What if you could tell everybody that what you have the platform right now? What did people get wrong about you? What did they misunderstand about you? What do you, if you could tell one thing to the grade, to the school that they totally got
Oh my
wrong, what
gosh,
do you want to
shining
communicate right?
moment. Probably. promiscuity. I was, like I said, I was friends with guys that would give me rides to school or something, and all of a sudden I was sleeping around. It's just so silly and so drama driven and so not who I am. And if you'd taken a minute to get to know me or, you know, talk to me during a snack break or something, maybe you would have known the difference. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we could have had a friendship, but whatever, it is what it is. So
Yes. Ashley Pennington, the loyal mother, 2 daughters. You can check her out. Check out the Cove.
daughter, son.
A daughter. Oh, yes. Daughter and son, the Bodie. I love that. The names are great. You've got Cove Collection, which is, I mean, a bunch of fashion, right? Wait, what is the vision behind that?
Cove collection was kind of so Cove being like a protected area, motherhood.
Yes.
It was kind of just a passion project during COVID, and COVID have nothing
Yes.
to do here. But I was just bored in the house, right? And ended up tie-dyeing a bunch and made a bunch of masks and sent them out to a bunch of people, and it was really fun. Right now I'm working on an athleisure line called Pasha Collective.
Oh, interesting.
And it's kind of like day to night, comfy leggings and sports bras, you name it. So we're really looking to infiltrate the industry there and make some groundbreaking changes with fabrics and performance wear. So that's really exciting. And as I spoke to you earlier, just really pivoting things to online and more of a membership subscription platform, because that seems to be the way everything's headed.
Yeah,
A lot
totally.
of people are always asking me for recipes and tips and my diet, and I'm so sick of just DMing everything. So it's going to be right up there in a PDF for everybody to buy.
Yes,
And
yes.
support, you know, just kind of the next step in success. I think it's just, you know, one foot in front of the other every day, and just waking up and being humble with lots of gratitude and kind of checking off the list as you go along. I love journaling, and I love looking back at it and just seeing all the, like, kind of like, I always call it the wise progression of how far you've come is really beautiful.
Have you what is your relationship, briefly before we go, about with spirit guides? Are they talking to you? Do you have guides particular that you like? Like, what is the most interesting thing you could speak on about your realm, your inner astral travels?
Well, we haven't even touched on that. We didn't even get delve into that part.
I know we might have to get to like do another episode on this, but
But I think that my grandmother passing was a really spiritual experience. I was there to kind of see her soul leave her body, which was really wild. I'd never seen that in person before.
wow.
And it's been such a weird year. Actually, prior to her, so she was like in transition of passing. Then Kobe Bryant crashed next to my house, which
Oh,
was
wow.
terrible and so traumatic just for the whole entire world. So that was a really weird feeling. Just, I'm very much an empath, so I picked up a lot of the energy.
Huh.
And then I had to fly home for a funeral. So it just seemed like the first couple months were doom and gloom. And then COVID hit, and then it was like lockdown in California. So it's been a really weird couple of, you know, quarters per se when you look back on it. And now that we're like literally almost 8-9 months into the year,
Yeah.
and it's like, whoa, how did we get here? So that's really weird. I feel like time kind of stood still for like 3.5 months. And now
Yes.
we're all kind of coming out of this like shell shock. But I saw another meme the other day that was like, America would get sick of COVID. And I think that
right.
we've already hit peak here in California, and it's going down. And it looks like a lot of the older people are the ones that are getting infected and sick and pre-existing conditions. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
if we continue to wear a mask and stay safe and mostly at home and not congregate with lots of people, it's the way to go.
So wait a minute, spirits. So where did the spirits come in here?
I'm getting there.
Oh,
So,
okay. I'm just, yeah. I'm just like fascinated how this is all going to connect. That sounds
no,
great.
it's a weird thing. So but what I was saying was time stood still and I was at home a lot, right?
Yeah.
Noticing lots of signs
Yeah.
and things in my yard. And it was interesting because when my grandfather passed, my mom would always see a cardinal. And this cardinal started showing up in my new house's backyard. And then my grandmother was a big birder. And she
Oh.
loved like blue jays and bluebirds and anything kind of colorful with blue hues. And a blue jay starts showing up with the cardinal. And I'd never seen them in California. I really haven't looked into it, but I don't know if it has any
Yeah.
correlation. But that they just started showing up in my yard and staying around. And then I planted a garden and all these like animals kept coming. And when my girlfriend was like, oh my God, you're like a Snow White, like all these animals are like
Yes.
abundantly coming to you. So there's definitely like, I think between motherhood and love and just abundance, you put the energy out there and it's not necessarily like I'm this esoteric weirdo that's like crystal balling it, but that when you raise your energy, things in the world notice it, whether
Oh
it's an
my
animal,
gosh. Yeah.
right? I
I'm going to
mean,
crystal ball it right now. I see you in 5 months. I see this already. Leading people through DMT rituals.
oh my God, I would never.
Reading palms on the corner of Malibu, and I don't even know. I'm just naming streets right now. This is gonna be Ash. Look, you hold me to this right now. 5 months from now, or whenever, you will come back on this show, maybe, and we're gonna see how crazy into it you actually aren't. Because I think you're gonna go in deep.
Yeah, I mean, I love going deep. I don't know about DMT rituals.
uh,
But that being said, I think that there's definitely a lot more to this earth than the day to day.
is there
And
a Ouija board in your house?
no,
Do you Ouija with Blakely
no,
and
I'm
Cody?
I'm I'm spiritual and witchy, but I'm like a good witch. I I love
Yes.
crystals. I love sage. I love ceremonial aspects of yoga and meditation. I'm a huge meditator. I think that there's so much good that happens out of meditation. And collectively, it's amazing when we, pre-COVID could all get along and do that fundamentally on so many levels, so healing.
Yeah.
But I'm a big horseback rider. I'm an equestrian. So for me, getting on the back of a horse is therapy. And I think if you can have anything like that in your life, it's truly special.
Were you doing? Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. I think I lost you for a second. You
Did
still
you?
there? Oh, maybe
Yeah,
not. Maybe
can
not.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, yeah. Sorry. 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 I was gonna say, did you do that in high school? Like, were you
Yes.
riding horses back then? Why
Mhm.
do I feel like that is so underappreciated about you?
Yeah, so I've ridden my entire life. I've ridden since I was or four, 3 or 4.
Right.
And my daughter's about to start, which is so exciting. But that's kind of what I always did. And I always rode and competed. And it taught me a lot of discipline and a lot of, uh, I think I definitely partied in high school, but I was able to still get everything done.
Yeah.
I was an effective partier.
An effective partier. Now that sounds like a course title right there. I want to read that book. Maybe that's the name of the podcast. I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't want to go that route probably with the podcast, but I will say that I was able to get my schoolwork done, my horses taken care of. My family life was, for the most part, pretty great. I had a great relationship with my mom, my brothers, my grandmother, and my stepdad. So I think that balance and harmony was all pretty good there. Having a parent that's a rock is very important.
Wait a
And
minute. Can you still party as a you I know you don't want to go to route as a down that podcast, but can you still be an effective partier as a mom?
I, yeah, I mean, in balance, I think you can go out and have a couple of drinks. But the thing that is kind of a bummer is your kids wake up at 6 a.m. and if you've had,
Yes.
gone to Soho House and had a couple drinks, when they wake up at 6 a.m., it's like hearing pots and pans clanging. So,
Yes, totally, totally.
you take it with a grain of salt these days. But I think that if you have some time off from your kids, it's really nice. I was able to reset this summer. I went to Idaho for a week and just do some fun things that I hadn't been able to do in 3 or 4 years, like do flips off a boat and ride horses as long as I wanted. And if you're able to have that time to yourself to kind of feel like a kid again or heal some inner childhood trauma
Yeah.
or just be you and get back to you, because there's so much of this hustle and flow with work and balancing relationships and friendships and family that can really throw you off. And
Yeah.
having those really important things in your life that drive you for self-care are so extremely important. And I mean, I could talk about it for hours, but there's like 12 different things that influence you. And if one of those is out of bat, you can be all out of whack for whatever
Whoa.
have you. So there's definitely some bio individuality between each person that is going to measure up on how effective you are in your career, your spirituality, your home life, your diet and nutrition. And if that's out of whack, you're not going to be your true best self. So when you can identify those factors, you can be successful.
Wow. And I'm imagining those 12 things and are things that you probably discuss in your podcast, or they kind of things you're working with people
Yeah.
on.
Usually in coaching, we delve
And
into
yeah, in
them.
your coaching program.
Yeah. And usually if I'm doing like an intake with a new mom or something like that, I would ask them about those things. And they're just kind of, I would say, even like an icebreaker, like, what's this like? What's that like? Do you have a good career? Do you have a solid career? Kind of like simple questions, almost even
Yeah.
like therapist would, or coach, anyone, mentor would be asking. And that way you can kind of evaluate that person and say, okay, this is going to work for you. That's going to work for you. And so on and so forth, and go from there.
What
But
you what if you had been promiscuous in high school? Like what if you had been and you were okay with it? And people thought you were. Like, is that possible for a kid? Like, can a young girl be like, I like men, I like sex, I like sleeping with men? Like, yeah, I am your slut, quote unquote. Like, is that even possible?
oh my God, I think I had too much respect for myself at the time, like dignity. I just didn't want to like sleep around. I was really nervous about STDs and certain
Yeah, of
things.
course. It sounds like you weren't that, but I also am like, I
Yeah,
wonder if there
and it
is a
is.
stigma around like
Misconception.
that.
It's so funny. I'm like laughing about it right now in my head. And it's just one of those things, like, if that's who you want to be, then that's who you're going to be. If you want that kind of portrayal, I never really, I never tried to dress the part or act the part. There was just, I think, it's the tales all this time. It's like rumors are going to be spread. It's like the game of telephone,
Yes.
right?
Well, it's like actors are the first, like,
Yeah.
actors and prostitutes are like the oldest professions in the world and like
Yeah.
lowest level. Like, oh
Right.
gosh. And of course, like, you're dealing with like Instagram influencers that are prostituting themselves in some level. So it's like great. And you're not even. Oh man, I can't even imagine. But I do imagine that you having, beautiful children, having like a lifestyle where you're taking care of yourself and also being tuned into spiritual things allows you to more effectively discern sort of the choices that you make on the day-to-day basis so you don't fall into the Los Angeles trap, which it is kind of amazing that in a way that you've stayed there as long as you have.
It's funny. It's definitely a facade, but I think once you figure it out, and if you're well educated and come from back east, certain things, I'm not saying that if you're a local here that it's different, but just kind of the way I was raised, the morals I had, and the education I had from the East Coast, just it's different. It's a different vibe, and I see through the bullshit.
That's what I was going to say. Is it because you see through it
Yeah.
that it allows you to kind of use it as a playground in a way? Like you
Yeah.
can kind of see, okay, if I do this, if she releases this on this date, this is going to have this effect on the public, blah, blah, blah. And
Well,
the
I
fact,
mean, I'm not that manipulative, but
oh, shoot, I am. But I mean, like
you
business wise.
are. Yeah. I mean, business oriented, I think that you can definitely be manipulative in business in a positive aspect.
No, I just mean thinking about the way. I mean, I think in publicity is a job. It is quote
It
unquote
is.
manipulation. You do have to think about the way you
But
release something and when you release something to the public, like, and how you do it. Like that is, and I feel like someone like you that, like, took your studies correctly, looked at the whole system, came from a teachers that kind of looked at things, and like those teachers at DS, like they were calling the school and the students out on their BS to their faces too
they
often.
were.
So it was like they're operating at a higher level. So when you get into a playground like Los Angeles, I mean, sometimes I fantasize, Ashley, that I would run like the coolest strip club ever because I see the games. Like, I'm like,
Hey,
this seems
there's
so
so many
easy.
girls here that come here for the sugar daddies. I've never partaken, but I know many people that have. I think there's an interesting aspect here. You can come here, it's what the boulevard of broken dreams. So there's so many people that come as want to be actors, want to be singers, want to be models.
Yeah.
Some make it, some don't. And I think if you make a valiant effort and try in anything, you gave it a try, and you can say you tried it. I've
Right.
been here for 12-ish years, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love the climate. I love the friendliness of the people. I love not having to scrape ice and snow off my car.
Yes.
I love being 15 minutes from Calabasas to Malibu. I live in the suburbs. Calabasas is like a horse town. It reminds me of Dover.
Yes.
So it's really nice to feel home in a sense of not being home, being so far away.
So wait a minute. You're saying you're not a puppet master, but at the same time, you see through the facade. I just want to get clarity, but I know this interview is going on longer, but I'm sort of curious, like, what is your relationship to the Matrix that seems like it is like a smart person could go there and just like, could
Yeah.
break the internet easily if you had the right tools.
Kardashian status. I
Yes.
think there is a manipulation tactic there. Kris Jenner killed it. She sold her family as this brilliant idea, and they ran with it. And all the power to them, because you know, I love what they've done. Honestly, I think it's great. I think that they've really killed it in the way that they wanted to.
Do you think
And
that was such a good move that she said breaking the we're gonna that cover with Kim Kardashian
yeah,
broke the internet? I was sitting there going, okay, you're telling me you're breaking the internet before you actually did, but then they did.
then they did. Yeah.
So it's like
It's,
sometimes I think it is
yeah.
so about image, and I feel like, is that what you're speaking to? You playing around with like, set the expectation really high, you can do it so that people just live up to it.
Totally. I think that your standards should always be high, and you should always be shooting for a goal, or having, different people that you aspire to, and making benchmarks and different plans. I talk with my clients all the time to make a 1 year, a three-year, a 5-year, a 10-year plan, and see your best self at all those points and who you're going to be. Because it's great to look back at that and be like, oh my God, I did that without even thinking.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it's great to be a puppet master for sure.
Yes.
Extreme like coercion and manipulative tactics, maybe not so much, but nobody ever became super successful by playing super nice. So there are certain things you have to do in business to scale and be extremely successful and you're going to hurt a couple people's feelings. It's going to happen. Just like it happened
Whoa.
in high school. Feelings
Yeah.
are going to get hurt, but like I can't live my life feeling super bad about it for the rest of my life and vice versa, you know?
And
So,
I think it is okay to hurt people's feelings if it's not you actively trying to hurt their feelings. It's just a circumstantial kind of hurt. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't collaborate with you anymore on this project, like, because I have to do this other thing. That's going to hurt someone's feelings, but it doesn't mean you're trying to destroy them, which some people do go to Los Angeles and New York City, where I live normally, and they kind of have that sick intention inside of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a smear campaign and this whole cancel culture that I think is bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
so over it. I think that, you know, a lot of things have gotten very controversial lately. But I don't think that people need to be completely canceled and their lives need to be ruined and they need to be on suicide watch because of it. It's
Yes, yes.
terrible.
I'm sick of this cancel
Or
culture stuff. I'm sick of
actually
it.
committing suicide. So
Yeah.
um, it's sad and it's sick, and I really hope that you know, again, it's the cyberbullying, and it all goes back to just people being mean. And I think uh, that if people are nice, it takes so much energy to be mean and to be awful and to create hate and those thought patterns be repeated. Why not put the positivity out and radiate good energy and create positive change and create art and music and love? Like there's so many things that people can do besides being a troll. And
Yes.
it's so sad that people are making these accounts and hiding behind them, and it's like, don't you have something better to do with your life?
Yes.
It's silly and it's sad, but you know, pray for them because that's clearly where they are in life, like very low vibe, not good energy. So
Wow. Wow. Well, Ashley Pennington, ashleypennington.com.
yep.
So amazing to talk to you again. I'm glad we could catch up.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing me everything you did because, it definitely helps me fully understand more about you. I definitely think that you didn't get a fair shot at a lot of times. So,
Yeah,
anything.
again, there were some stigmas there that people, I think, had in their head. And that's why I'm actively working now with other women to break those stigmas and barriers and really bring together a community of women that loves and supports one another and doesn't break each other down.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate your time, Ashley.
Fun. Yeah, absolutely. And once mine's ready to go, I'd love to have you on mine as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Take care.
All right, bye bye.
Open loops. Do, do. Open loops. Open loops. Open loops. Open loops. You must listen to the open loops, a theme park for absurd beliefs and systems of integration between the mind and the creative spirit. Open loops.